One of the things I think that is noteworthy about connected television today and the space that we're in is we're combining two ecosystems that traditionally have not been connected before, right? You have the traditional linear space and the top 200 brands there. And then you have a lot of other brands that never bought television before, that would buy other forms of media. But, through the help of companies like Mountain in today's world, we're able to combine those two together into one ecosystem where you have a lot of non-traditional TV style brands able to access and buy television for the first time. And so it's giving television the chance to really expand its audience and expand the brands that they can work with.
And what's interesting about CTV is that it appears that it's really the big brands that are driving most of the initial investment in it, whereas in the past you would see smaller brands, maybe disruptor brands, first experiment with a new medium. But this time around, you're seeing larger established brands get in first, followed by the disruptors.
You are. It's interesting. I think in a lot of ways, the smaller brands tend to be the ones that try to be the first movers in a new market, right? Whether it's a new medium or a new format that people are trying to buy, you see a lot of those smaller brands really try to be the first ones there to exploit a market inefficiency, right? When they're new to a market, oftentimes they can get better value for something they're buying. But in connected television, you actually found that the major brands, like the top 200 that traditionally buy linear, actually came over faster because of how similar to television the experience was. And so you actually had them be far more comfortable with what they were buying than a lot of the non-television based brands. And you're seeing a bit of a difference there. Usually, like I said, a lot of the smaller guys try to be a disruptor, try to find a way within the ecosystem that they can extract value. But you're finding that a lot of these big guys are actually coming over sooner, and finding that the atmosphere they're buying in is very reminiscent of what they traditionally buy in linear.
And so what needs to be done to unlock further growth in CTV? And also, perhaps you could tell us a bit more about what FreeWheel is doing as far as trying to help speed up this adoption?
Yeah, I think to look, the ball's rolling, right? It's not a matter now of are people going to buy it? People are buying connected television today. But in order to speed it up, I think there's a few things you can do, right? You can offer ways to optimize. You can provide better attribution data, things like, that we don't have click-through rates in connected television, but getting a lot of the non-traditional TV buyers to start seeing data that makes it look and feel more like what they're traditionally able to buy is going to be a key component of how we shift additional dollars over. But people like FreeWheel in our space in any platform, I think there's a few key things that we can do to drive the adoption, right? And I think one, the most basic is listen to the publishers, listen to the marketers, listen to the agencies, and understand what they're looking for, what they're trying to buy, and how they want to see what they're buying. And then work with them to be able to provide that, right? Whether it's custom data, whether it's incremental reach studies, whatever it is that gets them comfortable with what they want and be able to provide it. I think the second is education, right? They need to really understand what it is. What is the difference between connected television and linear? What are the similarities? What is the difference between connected television and different forms of IP-based advertising, whether it's, display, online video, mobile app, mobile web, whatever it is, and get them to understand the unique value behind connected television. And I think lastly, one of the main things that we can do, not only as FreeWheel, but overall in the industry, is make sure that we have all of the connections to all the different kinds of demand, right? I think traditionally in an IO-based world, you really only had the top 200 brands that could buy a TV style environment because those were the major brands that a lot of the programmers and publishers were able to get a hold of. But with the advent of programmatic and being able to plug into a lot of different places, it gives Mountain and companies like that the opportunity to reach out to brands and to reach out to agencies that never had the ability to buy TV before and actually be able to offer it, right? It's one of the great parts about programmatic is you can open up the inventory to a lot more demand that traditionally wouldn't have had access to it.
Well, along those same lines, what's next for CTV advertising? Is there anything that you're most excited about? Anything that keeps you up at night? What kinds of things do you see happening, let's say, in the next 6 months to a year that you think viewers should know about?
I think you're going to see the continued normalization of connected television, right? I think you're seeing it already on the consumer side. And I think the advertisers are going to be a fast follow because traditionally the advertisers go where the eyeballs are, right? But we're seeing it already. If you want to watch Thursday Night Football, for example, you need to have an Amazon Prime subscription. Part of the World Series were shown on Apple Plus, and that was the only place you could watch it, right? And so from a consumer basis, the people that are consuming all the content, we're all getting very used to and normalized with the idea that connected television is going to be a part of our lives. And I think that you're going to see that very quickly, the advertisers of all kinds, not just television, but all forms of advertising are going to look at CTV as a way to access a lot of these audiences that they weren't able to find before.